Page 148, Café Vienna. On the previous pages, they got some little goodies for you. Oh boy. On page 145, they have that little quiz thing where you get to draw the lines connecting the boxes every which way. So you can go through that. If you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully by now you know the names of the notes and the music, because if you don't, you really need to go through the book again. So this thing on page 145 shouldn't really be much of a challenge for you, so that should fall right into place, I hope. On page 146 and 147, they're talking about intervals and sight reading. See, I can't stress sight reading enough. Do all the sight reading you can do. I have been known to take a book of something and just play through it. Just to not practicing anything, not trying to do real wonderful, just play through it just for the sight reading experience. Even just one hand at a time for a while too, if I have to. If they're really hard stuff, I'll just do one hand at a time. So that's the sight reading. Then they're introducing the other intervals. Well, I don't have a lot to say on the other intervals because my approach to intervals is one and done, so to speak. If you know how to calculate an interval, you got it. It doesn't matter what the interval is. So they're doing sevenths and eighths. I already talked about eighths, an octave, letter to letter, C to C, D to D, A to A, whatever. That's an octave. It's an interval of an eighth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A seventh is just one less, and that's how I don't want to have to count to 7. So I just think of an octave and then subtract 1. So I just go down 1. Seventh. Sounds great. It's a bit of an acquired taste. You'll get it eventually. Learning to recognize them in the music is a little trickier. On the sevenths, they're both on lines and spaces, or spaces. And there's 2 lines or 2 spaces in between the notes. I never got the hang of that really. I think of an octave. What's an octave? And an octave is one is on a line and one is on a space. And I can usually, over the years, I've learned to visualize an octave in the music. So a seventh to me is just one less than that. You'll figure out your own system to understanding them anyway. What is important is that you know what a seventh or an eighth is. That's all. Now let's talk about Café Vienna. 3/4 time, right hand first. Here, look at the fingering. You're in this position. Not this position, this position. So it's 2, 1, 4. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3. And then in the third measure, you got to reach up here. You got to go up to the 7th. All we did is actually change hand positions. Because once we do that, we can bring everything else up. And then second line, we're here. Just staying there, and the last measure of the second line, the thumb comes up to do the E. And then in the third line, you go back down. Just move, just a little move here. And you do it all again. Last line. You're here to start. And then 5th finger. Lift up here. You can put a little silence there. And the last measure, that's an octave. Just reach out. And eventually you want to develop a feel for an octave. You might have to look at first to see where it is, but eventually you want to be able to play that kind of that interval without looking at the keyboard. You just know what it feels like. And you will eventually, it'll happen, because you'll get octaves a lot. Left hand is just broken chord accompaniment. Keep it soft. C chord. At the end of the line there's a G7 chord. And that's pretty much it for the left hand. Put them together slowly. Get the idea? Not a lot going on there. Well, add these slurs. The left hand, there isn't. I do a typical left hand accompaniment pattern here, and just I connect the first 2 notes and then disconnect the others. It reinforces the natural accent. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. for the left hand throughout. Regardless of what the right hand is doing, do that in the left hand throughout. If you can. You got to do different things in the hands anyway. This is good practice. In the right hand, you're starting out with the same as you're doing in the left hand. You're slurring the first two beats. I have a problem there in the third measure. I want to connect all of that together. I don't like the idea of maybe that's what they wanted, but to me it just sounds better if I connect those notes together. However, it's written this way, we'll do it this way. So in the third measure, separate those. So separate the A before and after. Do it the way you're doing the left hand. I keep doing that. Throughout the whole piece. Now, if you were my student, I'd take a pencil and draw some slurs in here to get rid of that, because dynamics. You're starting out soft. That's the melody, which is the right hand. And at the last measure, the first line is loud. So you've got all these measures now to go from soft to loud. Plan it out, or you'll be loud by the second measure. That's too soon. So the first measure, just keep the whole measure soft. And the next measure, you go up a little bit to moderately soft, just a little bit. Next measure, go up to moderately loud, just a little louder. Now you're loud. So each measure, I do it in groups of notes, because when it spans out like this, you're not going to be able to do it note at a time. The difference is too small. So do it like a measure at a time. So soft, loud, and then in the second line, come down, back down to medium soft, or medium loud, medium something. And then in the third line, go back down to soft and do it again. Last line, back down a little bit to medium loud. And then there's a retardando there. So you're going to stay medium loud, but slow down a little bit. And they added pedal in the last measure. I completely disagree with that. If you want to add pedal, you go ahead. Push the notes down and then the pedal, and lift the pedal with the hands. I'm going to leave it out. I didn't use pedal anywhere else. I don't need to use pedal here. However, I will take advantage of this piece to show you a pedal style that you can use in waltzes a lot. Not all the time, but a lot. And you can experiment when you get a waltz or something a 3/4 time or a feel of 3. See if this pedal will work for you. I'm going to pedal the first beat of each measure. It just reinforces the natural accent. So it goes down right after the notes, and up after I play the second measure. Like so. Doesn't really work well in this piece, but in some waltzes that you play, that works very well to do that. It's something to keep in mind. I like to play this with you very slowly to double check the notes and the rhythms. I'm not going to do the dynamics, just the notes and the rhythms, and that fermata at the end I'll hold 4 counts instead of 2. I'm not going to do the pedal. So I'll give us 3 counts and let's do this together. 1, ready, go. hold 2 off.